Well, what's up today, guys? What is up today, guys? That's what my daughter Seiro said, I should say. Anyways, today I just wanted to do this one-off video since we had the setup already going and we had just recorded our radio show. I figured I would just record this extra segment for the English-speaking population, maybe those who may be supporting our ministry here or are interested in knowing what faith is like on the ground in Iceland. I wanted to give you this because there's not a whole lot of times where you have information come out about Icelanders and what we believe or what the state of Christianity is like in Iceland. Now, granted, when it does come out, I am annoyed with the numbers because not only are they sad numbers to see, but they're also sometimes just really bad way of doing the questioning. But also, I am not very interested in hearing about what Icelanders maybe identify as. I am way more interested in knowing the practices of Icelanders when it comes to faith. Specifically, like, do you go to a church service? Do you read your Bibles? Do you pray? And that type of thing. So when you talk to Icelanders, they're not necessarily against anybody saying that they're a Christian. But if you say that you actually read your Bible or that you pray or that it basically has any effect at all on your day-to-day living, then they're going to be like, oh, you're basically an extremist or in a cult or, like that type of stuff. So I am very interested in knowing about that. But we have to take what we get. What is it? Beggars can't be choosers and so on and so forth. But today, no, not today. Today, I want to introduce you to this article that came out maybe a couple of weeks ago about where Icelanders believe, and I believe this is the article right here, and it's talking about this survey. I guess it would be called a randomized longitudinal study. I think it's basically a guy that's been living here. He's very interested in what people believe in Iceland. And he asked the same questions back in 2006, 2007, and then 2023 with regards to the faith of Icelanders. And in 2023, the sample size was actually 2,972 individuals that answered his survey. And so it's not the same individuals as in 2006, so it's randomized in that way. But here we have some insight into what Icelanders actually believe. And here, I just want to run over this. And I want to ask you the question. So these are the questions that he asks. Let me translate this on the go down here. The green one is, there is a loving God that you can pray to. The red one is, there is no other God except for the imaginary gods that people have made up in their mind. The yellow is, we can't be certain of any type of God existing. Blue is God has to exist, otherwise life has no purpose. Purple, I guess light purple over there, is God created the world and controls the world. And then the dark purple is none of the above actually fits my belief. And so here we have a rough estimate. Like I would be interested in hearing from you if you're watching this and you're a Christian, what would you say would fit your worldview most? Because is it that, because obviously we as Christians believe that there is a loving God out there that you can pray to, right? But that is also what most other religions in the world would claim to be a part of their theology, that there is a God that you can pray to, that is a personal God that loves you. So that's not necessarily distinctly Christian. There's nothing in this that I would think is distinctly Christian. There's no Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, that type of stuff. But the first question, there is a loving God out there that you can pray to, is actually, when you really start to think about it, is more of the deistic position, that there is a vague, sort of a vague kind of spirituality. Now, in 2006, let's go over these numbers here real quick. So if we take that as sort of vague spirituality, in 2006, 45% of people answered that this fits their worldview, that there is a loving God out there that you can pray to. Now let's jump on over to 2023 and see how the numbers change. And I hope you can see this on the screen. Yeah, there you go. From 2006, 45% dropped 20% over those, roughly 15 years, to 25% that would consider themselves, in my opinion, to be vaguely sort of deistic or vaguely spiritual in some way. 25% out of the 3,000 people that answered this survey. Now, if we jump back to 2006 and we look at the next question, the red one, which is, there is no other God except gods that people have made up in their own mind. This would be the typical atheistic position. In 2006, it's 20% that says this positively. This is what I'm aligned with most out of all these questions that describes my worldview. I am an atheist. 20%, that's quite a lot in 2006. Now, roughly 15 years on, the red you see has jumped up to 33%, up 13%. So a third of the people here in Iceland would say I'm basically an atheist when it comes to my worldview. So every 3 people that you meet on the street would consider themselves to be an atheist. That's a crazy statistic, especially considering that this is not a communist country. You're free to believe what you want, at least for the moment. But that's just insane. Up 13%. So roughly the vague spiritually people, that's dropped over 1% every year since the survey in 2006. And the atheistic position has grown by a little less than 1% every single year in the meantime. Now, 2006, if we go back to here, let's look at the other question, that is the yellow. We have no idea, there's no way to be certain that God exists. So this would be the typical agnostic position. In 2006, this was 11%. Let's see, in 2023, the yellow is 21%. That jumped up 10%. That's quite a lot. Now, if we go to 2006 again, let's check out the blue position. God must exist, otherwise life would have no meaning. No, sorry, that's 2023. Here, 2006. I kind of ruined the surprise here. But God must exist, otherwise life has no meaning. That's 9% in 2026. That's 4% in 2023. Now, if we go to this, God has made the world and controls it. There's 3% of people that believe this in 2006. That's a long time ago, 3%. Now, this would probably be the closest to the distinctly Christian position, even though it's not necessarily distinctly Christian. If you think about it, this is monotheism, basically. This is the Abrahamic religions. This is Islam. This is Christianity. This is Judaism. That God is not, in the world. This is rules on pantheism and polytheism. This is mostly monotheistic religion. So this is not even just talking about Christians here. 3% in 2006 said, yes, this describes what I actually believe. Now in 2023, that's down to 1% of monotheistic religion. I don't know, man. Yeah. That's dropped down a third of what it used to be. And it was 3%. That is crazy. That is a sad state. And again, this doesn't describe Christians. This is 1%. That's what? Roughly coming up on 4,000 people in a country of roughly 400,000. I would be genuinely very surprised if there were 4,000 people attending regularly services in Iceland and believe themselves to be Orthodox Christians, evangelical, gospel, Bible-believing Christians. I would be very surprised. But 1%. So this kind of puts Iceland in a category of an unreached people group. And again, this is asking people what they believe. I would much rather want to hear about church attendance and so on and so forth to get a little more clear picture of what Icelanders actually believe, not only by what they say, but also by what they do. which is more important in my opinion. And last question. None of the above actually describes my position. That was in 2006, that was 12%. In 2023, that is 15%. So those are just some of the statistics I wanted to share with you, and they break my heart. This is my country. I am so sad to see the state of my country. I am desperately asking God, we need you to move. Obviously, the thing that we've been doing for the last 15 years. And the sad part is this isn't, the numbers I'm seeing here correlates to what my experience is with the churches in the country. There's been a steep downhill slide for the last 15 years. Now, granted, I'm mostly going to our church. So it's actually bucking the trend, and we have been growing slowly but surely over the years. But from what I gather, what's happening in other churches around the country, it seems that there's this slow trend downward. You see it in youth groups. You see it in just so many different things. So to sum all this up, in 2006, there were 57% that agreed with more of like a pro spirituality decision or worldview, pro spirituality answers, pro quote unquote God answers. And there were 43% that said they were, sort of anti-God, anti-spirituality answers. Now, fast forward 17 years, 2023, 30% of people answered positively towards pro-God positions or pro-spiritual decisions or positions, and then 70% of people responded positively to anti-God or spirituality positions. And that is what we're facing here. So if you're out there and you're praying, if you're a praying person, pray for the Lord of the harvest. I believe we're starting to see signs of things turning around, starting to see positive signs of people coming to faith and growing to faith. And my heart breaks for my country. And so if you're out there and you're praying, pray for God to move. Pray Psalm 127:1, that Christ would build his church, and that we would remember that unless the Lord builds the house, we labor in vain. None of this matters if the Lord is not in it. But I wanted to make this video just to throw out there, this is the sad state of spirituality in Iceland, a little glimpse that we rarely get to see. So be praying with us. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.